right-hand side, but also getting in here, hailing from the Infernal Legion in the bottom left-hand side is the red player.
I can't wait for lateral.
Also, do
camera
you see
movement.
that scout? Look at that scout. That scout
Frank,
goes
I'll be
incredibly.
honest, I would leave, but nobody noticed I was here because the audio bouncing was so shit.
The auto bouncing? What?
Audio bouncing.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how to fix that, man. It seems like it's sometimes I think it's like just the microphone positioning on like whether or not people can hear one another, because I'm like, my voice right now isn't prioritized over anyone else's voice in the Discord chat. I literally think it's like, how loud is someone to their own computer, and that's how it like comes out in the game. But I could be wrong.
We got a shrine first. Looks like it's versus host first. Yep. How many bobs are there? We have to psychoanalyze the number of bobs. Is it 3 or is it 5?
I see 4. 1,
Wait.
2, 3, 4.
Wait. Oh, okay. For anyone who doesn't know, you can use 5 and then you can attack the health camp, kill it, and then use the resources to go ahead while you're still in the power. While you're still in power build, and you can use that to go make it. If you take 3, it's more economical than taking 5 if you don't plan on attacking. So, I'm looking at you, blue player. I'm looking at you.
So you're telling me that 4 is the perfectly wrong number of bobs to take?
Listen, there's a reason in Eastern cultures that 4 is the number of death, and if you want your build to be inefficient, you know, go towards that sweet release of death and use 4 bobs. But if you, unlike, you know, this case, are a more enlightened human being, we take 5 or we take 3.
The that's another question that I've been wondering about, Jay, is it better to build your command post like after you kill the health camp, and then build it right up here so that if your bobs get attacked, they have health regen every time they make a return trip?
I mean, yes, I think that's better, especially if they go for a rush build. I don't know how the math works with the new camp, to be honest with you, but if I were to do that where I build it inside of the health camp, I would go barracks first, kill the camp, and then do it.
Oh no!
Now we see not one Rax, but is that in fact a second Rax?
Second Rax.
Do I see him building a stacks on his stacks?
Oh yeah, Jay. I don't know if you were here for this, but we were talking about the like, how do you fix creep dragging when someone like, if someone would drag a creep all the way across the map and then not kill it and just abandon it, so that way you can never grab the camp because like the creep never died. What do you think is a good way to fix that?
You're like a good dude, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna fix it for him, or more like.
No. I mean, like, at the game dev level, how do you prevent the creep drag abuse potential?
While this is going down, can we take a look at the Infernal Natural, because this is going to be a 2 Rax Biokinetics Lab kinetic redirection level 2 5 Lancer per mode. So I want to see how this Infernal player holds this, or if he's just going to be holding an L.
Yeah, I mean, League of Legends does it well. You know, they after a certain range, they just go back. You know, it's probably the only way. There's something in the code that needs to be fixed.
I think just have a hard leash range.
Yeah, my suggestion
exactly.
is you have a hard leash range, but when it leaves that range, it instantly heals to max health, and it teleports back to the camp. So it doesn't walk back; it teleports back.
I like that too.
Because
by the way, anyone who's watching this and is kind of
that prevents any kind of yo-yoing, so that you can't post up at a certain spot and then just hit the camp. It's not like one gaunt can take on a bruiser forever, you know.
Right.
Oh, these 3 trailer park girls are going around the outside, round the outside, round the outside. Superstone goes down. We're going to see an emergency promote on top of the Lancer that's not getting hit. The one that does
The
get hit.
Superstone going down is already a win. Like, you can just kind of poke around, but
Yeah.
denying as much animus as possible is always going to be a win for the Vanguard player.
Yeah.
If you're an Infernal player and it looks like this is the most unbelievably broken thing imaginable, the thing that I'm seeing that's kind of effective is if you want to be incredibly safe at the cost of some long-term safety, then you can make a Shroud Stone and have Magmadons early. The thing that this Lancer push is really good against are Doombringer drops, Doombringer Gaunt drops, or against very fast Weaver. If you get the faster Magmadon, then you kind of tell the Lancers they have to go away, because even though the damage looks tiny and not worth mentioning, the fact that they don't get any bonus damage is very concerning. But actually we're seeing here now, he's got 2 units in a Parade push. We're going to see if his Exo Micro is about the same tier as his Lancer Micro. We see a promotion on the blend in the back over there. Very important extra damage. A couple of Gaunts are going to get focused. Those are the targets that you care about the most. It's counterintuitive. You actually care about the Magmadons, but the Magmadons are such a big target, you're going to get them anyways. You just want to go ahead and hit the Gaunts because they're the things that could possibly invest, possibly turn everything around. If an effigy gets dropped, and we do see an effigy get dropped right there, and that's exactly what you want to avoid, as they're now over on the Vanguard player side of the map, and the Exos are trying desperately to get something done. This is the benefit of having the Magmadon if your opponent isn't going for mech, or isn't going for higher tier units, or doesn't, most importantly, go over there and get some Hornets, is that actually the Magmadon does a very good job of bullying this army, and just in terms of getting enough space, and obviously you'll have more units with the Gaunt, so you can always control whether or not you have the concave, not necessarily whether or not you win the fight on a pure unit count.
Yeah, and I like that he had the wherewithal to throw down a permanent effigy, but I don't like that he's getting pushed off of it, and he's allowing himself to get pushed off of it, especially laterally. Like, I would expect that you would want to retreat back towards the effigy, so that way all your Gaunts do stay on Shrouds, so they can continue to infest stuff. But deciding to go sideways instead of onto the Shroud. Not to mention, like, the obvious benefit of everything in your army regenerating white health. Retreating sideways, I think, may have been a mistake. I could be wrong. By the way, do you guys
We're also
see
going to
the,
experience...
did you guys see that?
Yeah, we're going to be
Steam
experiencing
pop
pretty
up?
quickly why... Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
Did you guys see the Steam pop up? I want to make sure my overlay is turned off.
I didn't notice it, no.
Okay, no worries.
We are going to want to pay attention to this Doombringer over here, because one of the reasons that you don't do exactly what the blue player has been doing here, where you go Lancer Exo and you try and push across the map, is that you actually don't have a very satisfying answer against these Doombringer drops over this way, especially with Gaunts, especially if they're not opened raw, they're not just jumped into immediately like it's WWE, but if they're more, seasoned, refined, come with a bit of a palate and taste, then you actually find yourself having a very formidable ground army, but you have a lot of ground you have to cover, a lot of micro you have to use, and actually it's very difficult for you to put these things away permanently. We do see a Vulcan right there that's going to try and threaten to stun up the Doombringer and then stop it from moving, but that means that this Vulcan is on patrol duty for quite a while, and all these things are slowing down the push, stopping the push, and making it more and more possible for the third shrine that's going up, because we see not only the shrine that is next to the double Therium over to the left-hand side at the 7 o'clock position, 8 o'clock position, but we also see towards the middle of the map there's another shrine, and it's a bit of a longer distance mining from the Therium, but you can't really afford for the Infernal player to get 3 Therium up so cleanly, and it looks like it's even possible that a 4th will be available here. This is definitely not looking good for our Vanguard player, at least on a conceptual, most macro, most meta level.
Yeah, I really like the I really like our Infernal players' use of the Vanguard SimCity against him, like kind of forcing this Vulcan to have to like walk around the entire town right here before he can like go back and threaten this Harbinger, which does manage to get on top of some bobs. We see another Vulcan come forward and start chipping away at the. There we go. He target fired down the Harbinger after the first couple seconds, but I think the Harbinger can just get up and leave quietly. Leaves that poor brute behind. Poor little fella. Yeah, the Lancers and the Vulcan are going to come by and.
Oh no!
Oh. Billy the Brute.
Oh,
gets
he saved! I was gonna say brutality in my most Mortal Kombat voice, but I didn't even get an opportunity to do that.
We're not seeing a whole lot of saturation on this double Therium, which kind of surprises me because this is like a super vulnerable base, and Infernal being as Therium hungry as it is, I would say that you would want to capitalize on that as soon as possible. But, 'But, 'yeah. 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 'Yeah.
Also, interesting choice of expansion over here from the Vanguard player to not expand towards the center, instead expanding over to the 12 o'clock position. Because in theory, when you have Lancer Exo, you have this more parade push style army. You know, the Vulcans are there to stun up the Magmadons in the front that are bothering you the most, or to turn on Lashing Weaver and stun it up and make the army focus concentrate fire on the Vulcan itself. You would expect this to be a forward move, and so actually a more forward expansion would probably be stronger, but the Pencil Sharpener is here, and I can think of 5 versions of a rocket that's going to take down this shrine. If there isn't any additional help, we see a big defense has to come online. A lot of units repositioning over here at the south side of the ramp. Now the Vanguard players pulling over to the right. We see that they actually get successfully up the ramp for the Infernal player. There's the big lash on the Vulcan. Is there a counter stun over on the Weaver? No, we don't see one. The Pencil Sharpener is doing some good damage, manages to get down the Supercharger over there, and all of the Exos are going to be cutting back. Have to be really afraid. While there is a Lancer, there's a couple Lancers and a Vulcan over there on the bot side. It would be excellent for the Vanguard player if they can get it. It's going to be a clean pickup over here. If not of the Weaver, then definitely of the Sims. None of them are escaping. Look at the cone of fire that's going on right there.
I thought at least one imp was going to escape, but man, that Vulcan AoE is really good.
Yep, there's going to be a teleport over there of the Weaver. It's going to be able to get out. One of the Weavers doesn't, and almost a dozen imps don't go off either. They don't become burning imps either, so they don't contribute in that way. And it looks like even though he didn't take a base that led to a forward push, taking the Pencil Sharpener, the B5 rocket, the Mercedes-Benz looks like it's coming around the mountain when she comes. That's right, it's not Grandma. It's just a giant rocket launcher, and bam, Marksman's going to be really happy. But yeah. Oh, he does manage to go ahead and lash that, but he has to run the Weaver away. Critical lack units over there, doesn't have enough energy. Not one lash, but a second lash over there, and the Pencil Sharpener finally goes down. Nightfall Infestation is going to hit over here. A lot of those Exos are going to be lower now. They do have the advantage of quick draw hustle, but there is a Hellborn, and they're still under the disadvantage. There's another pull over there. The Vulcan doesn't actually turn around and sock and bop for the Weaver that actually pulls it out. There's going to be another Vulcan that walks up over this way, but this actually looks defensible. I don't see any way. Even if he kites for all he's worth, look at that. Hellborn shots, 2 of them go off. Another Weaver drags an Exo, pulls it away. Fiend's nibbling at them, and nipping at their behinds. I don't actually see a way for this push to continue, and he looks like he's going to have to go back with his tail between his legs, which is a bit unfortunate because Infernals are the ones who have tails.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting how many of these tier 1 units are getting veterancy just by fighting. I know that Infernal players are rewarded for fighting with Animus, but I think there's actually something to be said for units that gain a veterancy rank without having to spend any of that orbital energy. Veterancy is really strong. Like any time that you get 30%, even if you get 10% damage bonus on a unit just by having that unit fight more is really good. And I think that incentivizes Vanguard players to like constantly be like killing stuff. So they do finally get these the veterancy ranks, and they can save up some energy to either do an emergency promote or maybe do a shields up if they're doing some kind of aggression, like dash a Vulcan in, put a shields up on it, so that way the Infernal player has to either ignore it or they have to like, there we go, like putting a shields up on that guy and making Weaver's worth of DPS have to like stop right there, and that's GG. But
Yep.
GG. Was it
if there was a big pull, there's a big lash over there.
Right?
Yeah, there's a big lash over there from the Weavers to go grab the Vulcan. It wasn't turn around and stun, but there's actually a ridiculous number over here of not only of Lancers in the front, Exos in the back, couple of Vulcans over there. It's going to say that in terms of economy, it did look good for Red that they had a lot of banked up Therium, but they not only lost the one expansion that was over there by the 7 o'clock position, they lost the benefit of the double Therium as well, or of the Illuminite and Therium base that is a little bit to the left of the center point of the map, so that was bad news for them as well. And also the one critical point that you can note to the Vanguard player was, wow, they got a lot of Therium, not a lot of Luminite. Bit weird for a Luminite heavy faction, doesn't matter. Went ahead and captured that base over there to the right side of the center themselves, just south of the Vision camp, captured more Luminite, able to do that in their last push, even though they were getting nibbled back. They actually made a heads up play while they were running with their tails behind their legs.
Yeah, I think it was the Vanguard macro this time was just really good. What is it? Is that okay? That's just a missile. I remember seeing the YouTube short with that Frost Giant released when these things were like having the candy hearts go by back in February. What a time!